Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, episode 91, Mystery Review. We are doing the resurrection and revival theme. And the hints that I gave on Twitter was Lover Resurrected, sequel, meaning this movie is a sequel, A Comfortable Exile, Patricide, Some History is Based on Truth, and some on deception. So, and nobody tended to guess. So, Underworld Evolution. The movie, or this is actually one of my more favorite genres. I actually do like the idea of vampires versus werewolves and the blood feud that was in these movies. And before I get on with the review, I want to say hello to the chat. Vanya, good to see you. Neozoic, good to see you. So, yes. Also, before I get started, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, no content. I will be in recovery both or during those days. I have a procedure the day of Thursday. If you see any of the tweets that I have on Thursday, it is strictly scheduled tweets. I won't be able to respond to them. I won't be able to do anything. And I won't be able to like or do any of that because most likely I will be out cold, sleeping it off. I'm getting my kidney stones blasted, and or from what they say, I'm going to be groggy as hell. And Friday, I'm going to be basically taking it easy. I might be online that day, but I'm definitely not going to be making content. I will not have the energy for it. Tomorrow or tonight, I will be on Society Reviews channel for the Barroom Podcast, where we go over the insanity of Hollywood and their stupidity, as well as other social and societal reports. And tomorrow night, we will be, or me and Mara will be on, I'll be on her channel, and we'll be finishing up the ones and twos with Fright Night 2. So, yeah, make sure you subscribe to Mara, or her channel is called Jade Shadow. Make sure that you join us there. It should be, I believe, 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. So, yeah, without further ado, also, if you are catching this on the replay, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the stream out. All of that really helps. I'm trying to get my hours up, my watch time. I was at 3,200 a month ago. I'm down to 3,000 now. I'm trying to get to 4,000 so I can be eligible for monetization. And I would really appreciate all the support you all can give. So without further ado, thank you so much, Neozoic, for the well wishes. Now let's get on to the review. So in 2006, the sequel to the 2003 Underworld was released. This movie was great. I saw it when I was living down in central New York. And it really did a good job with continuing the story. However, there are some flaws, and I'll address those flaws. Even though with those flaws, I still enjoy this movie. Now, the first film, or the same crew as the first film, Kevin Greenwald, Len Wiseman, Pat Stopoulos, and all of them, Gary Lucchese, and it's still directed by Len Wiseman, starring Kate Beckinsale, Scott Atkins, or Scott Speedman, not Atkins, my mistake, Bill Nighy, Shane Brolly, Michael Sheen, and with new cast Tony Curran, Sir Derek Jacobi, Stephen McIntosh, and Brian Steele as William. For those of you who do not know who Brian Steele is a monster in movies. He plays or if there's a monster suit that needs wearing, Brian Steele is usually the guy wearing it. He wore the suit for William in this one, the White Wolf, the big white wolf that is seen in this movie. And he does or he was also in the Doom movie with The Rock and Carl Urban. He was the big monster in that one. So yeah, Brian Steele, look him up. Good actor and good creature actor. So the movie begins with a crawl. 8 centuries ago, unknown to humanity, a blood feud raged between a ruling class of vampires and a rebellious legion of werewolves known as Lycans. Legends tell that the war began with two brothers, the immortal sons of Alexander Corvinus. Now, they spell Alexander Alex. If this was, or if he came to power in the 6th century, which they suggest he did, it would have most likely been spelled Aleksandr. Not even with the E, but with an, or possibly with an ER, but with just an R, most likely, judging by what I learned from history and whatnot. But yeah, it would have been more Alexander instead of Alexander Corvinus. And let's see here. Marcus, who was bitten by a bat. Now, another thing that's interesting, if you watch this movie with subtitles or anything like that, or even watch the credits, Marcus in the beginning here of the scroll is spelled Markus. In the movie, his name is spelled Marcus. So, yeah. He became the blood leader of the vampires. William, bitten by wolf, became the first and most powerful Lycan. Now, this was addressed in the first film. I do not think I have done a mystery review for the first film. However, and my camera stopped working. So I'm gonna do it like this, folks. I can't really go on camera because, well, my camera is just gonna stop working, and I'm really getting sick and tired of it. But yeah, continuing on. Or this movie the last movie addresses the history of Corvinus and the sons of the Corvinus clan, one bitten by bat, one by wolf, one to walk the lonely road of mortality as a human. Fun fact, according to Kevin Grievous, Selena is based on the X-Men villain of the same name of the Marvel Comics. That's interesting. Or Selene. Jesus rules. Hey, Christian, good to see you. Underworld is better than Twilight. Yeah, I hear you there. So we then see 1202 AD, which is 800 years ago, or a little over 800 years of the time of the film. And the cinematography of the flames and ruin reflecting in Marcus's eye as they zoom out of the shot is really actually done very well. The Lycans are another fun fact. The Lycans in this movie were given a lot more fur and a wider foot paw for when they were walking. So there are some changes that they made in this film where then they actually will make even more changes. One of the biggest flaws of the Underworld series, folks, is that they're radically inconsistent in the first 3 movies. Where you see the Lycans for the first time in the first movie, you get that great person in a body suit. You get a few CG Lycans, but that's about it. In this one, they do a lot more CG, and they also still have the men in the suits as well. Now, the more fur in this film, you can make the argument, okay, these are the Lycans that can't change back to human form, which is established in this movie. Any Lycan that is created by William, the first werewolf, is essentially, well, they're actually werewolves. Except that they do not change back. Where a Lycan is more Lucian's species, where he is an evolved Lycan, where he can change back. Now, I really do like the dialogue between Scott's or Bill Nye's Victor and Tony Curran playing playing Marcus, and they also have Zeta Gorig coming back as Amelia for another brief stint because her character died in the first movie. And I really do like how Victor is just fed up with Marcus's brothers rampaging. And he's like, yet again, we arrive to witness this monster's aftermath. And he makes a promise or Victor makes a promise to Marcus, saying, I give you my word that your brother will not be harmed. But he can't, or he must be controlled. So they end up going about burning the bodies and that are strewn all over the place. And as the death dealers are doing so, some of them are starting to turn, and then all of them start to turn. Even when they are killed, they're still infected with the virus that William transmits, and they then start to rise up as lichens and start to attack ferociously without thought. There is very little mind to these creatures. They're bent on pure instinct to kill. And you get a great sequence of action slaughtering them in different ways. Some of the vampires are getting killed while mostly it's lichens. Marcus wants to help, but he kind of already established that, or Victor's afraid of Marcus getting hurt. He's like, retreat to the woods. I will stay and fight. You need my help. I need you alive. If you die, we all die. Now go. And he forces him to leave, but you then hear this massive roar after the report is that he's been found outside of the perimeter in the woods, and Amelia is sent after him. Well, Amelia takes a bunch of crossbow or chainbow users or folks, death dealers, sorry, and they go after him, and they're trying to bring him down. Well, Marcus arrives, and you see that Amelia doesn't give a shit about Marcus. She keeps on telling them to torture William even more against Marcus's objections. He tells them, leave him be and stop this. You're killing him. Well, that's when the death dealers raise their weapons against Marcus to get him to back off. And after William's brought down, you hear the deceit of Victor, where he tells him he was not to be harmed. Place him in my charge as we agreed, or you'll pay for your deceit. And Victor goes right out and says it. And you're going to learn your place. Your sympathy for this beast is foolish. Your brother is entirely beyond control. It will be done my way. Well, the reminder, you know full well the consequences if you murder me or William. And Victor is pretty much pissed off at this point. He doesn't care. If you so much as speak his name again, you'll have chosen that future for him. And Marcus sees that he's outmatched in this. There's too many vampires around and whatnot. So he's like, all right, what is thy will, my lord? And we learn that William is to be imprisoned far from Marcus, separated so that they cannot be together. Even though Marcus is his twin brother, William's twin brother, it would make sense to keep him actually close to him, but whatever. So then we get the recap from Celine going over the events of the first movie, how she was a loyal death dealer to the vampires, but she found out the truth of Victor, that Victor murdered her parents and slaughtered her family and turned her into a vampire and blamed it on the lichens. Well, she instead rebels after she finds a human named Michael who possesses a rare blood strain of the Corvinus strain, which it's called. So he became a hybrid in the first movie, half vampire, half lichen, but stronger than both. And now her only hope is to awaken Marcus, who was woken up at the end of the first movie. You see his eyes open and they go black, suggesting that he himself is a hybrid now because he also took in werewolf blood from a dead werewolf in that room. How would you compare Selene with her female or with other female warriors such as Red Sonja, Xena, Buffy, Mulan, Wonder Woman, Black Widow, Awen, etc.? Selene is actually top tier, and she gets even stronger in or after this movie due to the boost she gets in this movie. While the others are all very well done and whatnot, if Buffy was to go after Selene, Selene would slaughter Buffy. There ain't no doubt about that. That's just the way it is. Selene has 600 years on Buffy. Buffy may have strength, but Selene at her peak will have the blood of Corvinus in her veins. So yeah. Did you know that there's an Underworld video game for the PlayStation 2? I did not know that, Christian. That's very interesting. I would definitely have to look up the gameplay online. So her and Michael are now out in the woods. They're looking for a safe house. But you also hear her narrating that Craven is going to try to murder Marcus while he's still in hibernation because he's no match for Marcus being awake. Now, none of them know that Marcus has already been awakened because of the Lycan's blood. So they don't know what to expect. Well, Craven gets in there, opens up the casket, and finds that, or opens up the sarcophagus chamber, and Marcus isn't in his sarcophagus. He busted out of it. You hear rumbling all around, and then the floor starts bulging just a few feet away from the other armed death dealers and Craven, played by Shane Broley, and he busts out with wings, like huge bat wings sprouting out his back, and he uses them as talons, which is pretty cool. That is another thing that I really like about Marcus, is that he actually does a good job with portraying. There, got the camera working again. He actually can use the wings. He could fold the membrane into the wings and create kind of a talon that can stab into sorry about that. That could stab into enemies, and or he can also use them kind of like hooks to pull people toward him and such. It's really great effects with the talons. Flying and using them as weapons doesn't really work, in my opinion, but looks like it froze again. Let's see if I can fix that. Nope, not going to work. Okay. Screw it. I'll just keep my thing off. The Underworld video game had Kate Beckinsale returning as Selene. Sadly, it was only released in Europe. Well, that explains it, because the game or the movies also take place in Bucharest, I believe, or Bolivia, or Budapest. I think it was Budapest actually, where the movies take place. But anyway, so Marcus then slaughters all the death dealers, leaving Craven, and Craven takes a shot at him, even though he sees him, or he sees he's the only one left, but it doesn't work. And so he gets stapled to a wall basically by Marcus's talon wings. And I absolutely love this because they remind you that Victor killed the Lycan werewolf guy named Singe, and his blood spilled into Marcus's crypt. How would you compare Kate Beckinsale's role as Selene with her other role in Van Helsing as Anna Valerius? I like Selene better. Anna Valerius is an okay character, but I like Selene better. How you doing? Price is Right. Good to see you. So the dialogue and the score at this moment with Marcus's awakening is top tier. It is just a very dark and brooding, menacing score, but it's also held back by the dialogue overtaking it, which is precisely what needs to happen in film. And he tells him, the blood memories of this wretched creature has shown me that your treachery knows no bounds. And instead of listening to his lie, he's like, because Craven's like, I can explain. Well, why would I listen to your lies when the journey to the truth is so much sweeter? And then he just rips into Craven's neck and just starts snacking and seeing the blood memories of Craven. Now, blood memories, folks, are you can, or when you drink somebody's blood, you see their memories, detail or detailed flashes of what they've been through, and which is pretty good. No, we're doing Underworld Evolution. Prices right. Prices right. Marcus versus Van Helsing Dracula. Marcus would still lose. Or Marcus would lose that. Van Helsing's Dracula is, you'd have to kill him over 3 million times. Did you know that there would have been a Blade crossover, a Resident Evil crossover, and an I Frankenstein crossover with Celine? No, I did not know that. I kind of wish they would have done that. That would have been cool. If they would have done that, that would have been pretty freaking cool. Merging the universes the way that are like that. That would have been pretty insane. So he sees that Craven is indeed a traitorous little fuck in this movie. And when he sees flashes of the pendant that Lucian wore, he immediately pulls away from Craven, having all that he needs. Apparently, that pendant means something to him. So Craven tries one last plea. He's like, please, I can assist you. Oh, you already have. And then he pulls his talons out of Craven's shoulders and just uses one of them to bust off Craven's head. And he does just the top portion of his head where you see his lower jaw and tongue before they cut to back to Celine and Michael, who are in a safe house arguing about not being able to go with her because he wants to go with her to back her up in case Craven and his men are dangerous and whatnot. Well, she tells him, you're not as strong as you might think. There's never been a hybrid before. However ambivalent you may feel about it, the truth is your powers could be limitless. But you depend on blood. Without it, you'll be grown weaker by the second. Use the time for that. And Michael, still new to this, he doesn't want to feed on blood. He finds it distasteful. He still has a little bit of human sentiment in him. And she tells him, normal food can be lethal. And if you don't anticipate your cravings, you'll attack humans. And believe me, you don't want that on your conscience. There really is no going back, Michael. And she tells him, I'm sorry about that. And he gets what she did. She saved his life in the last movie because he was already bitten by a lichen, and so he got shot with silver nitrate, which was bleeding into his system, killing him slowly. So when she bit him, she managed to transfer a vampire virus into him, which made him a hybrid, which healed him out. Which is funny because Underworld and Resident Evil, Paul W.S. Anderson version. Oh crap. Hold on, folks. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. So Michael is, or did you know that Underworld had comic books and an anime? Yes, I do know about the anime anthology. If you get the Underworld movies or one of the Underworld movies on digital, you actually have access to a couple of the, or to a few of the episodes of the anime anthology. So hold on one moment. Alrighty, so back to getting back to it. Let me go back to my talking points. Right. There we go. So yes, if he doesn't anticipate his cravings, we're then introduced to a new faction, which is the human faction, led by Alexander Corvinus, although it's not pointed out, or it's not outright pointed out that that is exactly who it is, although you understand that this person does know and have knowledge of the war and the blood feud. The humans come in with three bodies, which we later learn are the remains of Victor, the remains of Lucian, and also the remains of Amelia. And we also see that these cleaners, so to speak, because there was an innocent who witnessed, and he asked, "Have they been silenced, but otherwise unharmed as ordered?" Which is which is also great. So then we see he's like, "All right, show me what you have," and he tells him two death dealers were killed in the subway from the first engagement of the first movie. Apparently, or we found no lichen bodies. Apparently, they've been using a new ammunition, some sort of UV round. Now, ultraviolet ammunition kills vampires and leaves very little left of them. And so then we see Amelia and the train massacre from the first movie, where Amelia arrives on a train and the Lycans ambushed her there, and Craven's men, led by Soren, didn't do anything. They were there, they didn't prevent it because they were in cahoots with the Lycans at the time. And then they showed Victor, who had half of his head sliced off by Celine in the last movie. And then he says, and no trace of Marcus amongst the ashes. Marcus destroyed the mansion that he was interred at. And they said, "It seems he destroyed his own coven, sir. It was never his coven." I honestly still to this day do not know what he means by that. Uh no, yep, sorry about that. Neozoic repost, which is funny because if Underworld and Anderson's Resident Evil made a crossover, it would predate Resident Evil 8 because get it, RE8 has both vampires and werewolves. Oh, interesting. That is interesting. So, also, there were many vampires in that estate. So, Marcus could have gone on a freaking binge right then and there, gotten all the memories he would need to. Yes, he would also be getting some useless information, but he could filter that out with it, or because he's an elder. But he laid waste to that, or they show recording of the place up in flames and burning and rubble, essentially. He destroyed the mansion that the vampires lived at in the first movie. So then we cut back to uh I believe it's Michael back into the yep, or no. Let's see here. Hold on one second, folks. All right, better. Um yep. Or we then go down to the coroner section of this ship that the human faction is using, and Corvinus looks for the or the pendant on Lucian's body, but it's not there. So then he goes over to Victor's body, starts groping on his chest, and feels what he's looking for. He then cuts open Victor's chest and pulls out this ornate-looking thing that almost kind of looks like an ashtray. But we learn later on that it is something else entirely. So, yeah, we know that Marcus is indeed probably going to be looking for the same thing, because he was looking for something that does sort of resemble what he, or the pendant resembles the ashtray looking thing that Corvinus finds. We then see Marcus dropping by a safe house from the first movie, where, using the Lycan memories from Singe, he goes over the engagement where Singe was facing off against Selene, and other werewolves were killed too. And so he knows what happened there, because the bodies are still there. And then we cut to and then we see that Marcus uses the keyboard by accessing the memories of Craven that he sucked dry, or almost sucked dry, so he uses his massive talons, just using one finger, starts tapping on the keyboard, and finds that there's an active safe house. And so he starts heading there immediately. Well, Michael doesn't, or he's been looking down at the blood bag the entire time while Selene's been gone. And Michael decides, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get some food. I'm hungry. He doesn't, despite the warnings, this is bad writing in this, but despite the warnings, he still goes out and gets food. I mean, okay, RE8, they're not technically real vampires and werewolves. It's more like mutant humans with traits of vampires and werewolves, but still, or steadily close now. I don't know. I had never got into Resident Evil past number 4, dude. To be completely honest, Neozoic. But, yeah. So we go to a tavern, and Michael's getting some food. Now, movie magic here, folks. You see him shoveling this food in his mouth. Yet, the reason why there's so many takes from cutting to different angles and whatnot, every time they say cut, he has to spit that food out into a bucket right next to him, because there's multiple takes of eating food and such. So you can't just keep shoveling the food in your mouth and swallowing the food, because, well, you'll make your stomach upset. And it seems like it's getting windy out there. But yeah, so let's see here. And I still can't get my camera to work, so I'm not even going to bother. But anyway, so getting back to it, his body starts rejecting the normal food. He also heard a news report in Hungarian that there was an incident at his hospital. And then as he starts freaking out because his body starts changing on the inside, which they actually use transformational bits of inside the body from the first movie. They recycle it for this movie, which is kind of cheap, but it still gets the job done of letting you know that his body is rebelling. And it's almost like he's having a stroke, because his body's now forcing him to change in order to bring the food out to heal and to get the crap out of his system that he can't eat anymore. And that's when the news channel mentions his name in a picture, and the cops who are also at this tavern recognize him. Oh, that's Michael Corbin. And they start yelling at him in Hungarian. And he's saying, "You've got to get away from me." And then he just keeps on barfing up food, and he tells him, "Get away from me." Well, other people are running, because now the police have pulled their freaking AK-47s, and one of the cops leaves and gets on the radio talking about Michael Corvin. Well, Corvinus's crew on his boat is listening to different radio chatter, and he hears Michael Corvin, and he's like, there, points over to the same radio channel, and they hear Michael Corvin a second time, get the men up there now. I'm doing good, Ruben. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. And so the team, or the human faction's heading up there, and now he tells them one last time, get the hell away, or get the fuck away from me, and he throws the table to the side, and his face has black eyes and his hybrid teeth. Well, that's when the cop realizes, what? Well, he tackles him to the bar, and he's about to rip out the dude's throat, except he hears a woman scream. And that stops him, makes him look into the mirror and see his hybrid features, and he decides to run instead. And then we get the wood chase where the cops are chasing him into the woods, firing after him as he goes, and he's getting shot the hell up. And that's when Celine turns back because she realizes stuff is going on, and also she saw Marcus flying towards them, not knowing what it was, but she ends up coming in. The choreography for the stunt, or for Celine versus the cops, is pretty good. However, the first cop she takes down has a very recognizable face, and the last cop she takes down is that very same cop, but he had a different weapon. He had a pistol in the first bit when he took her down, or when she took him down, and then she goes up to the shotgun, or a different shotgun police officer with a shotgun, and the shotgun goes off right into her stomach. Well, he then reacts because she didn't, or he's like, what the frig? And it's that same guy that she took out the first time. So it's like, what? So she then saves Michael by having him feed because he doesn't want to, and she's like, Michael, you'll die. And then after he feeds, they start getting moving, but Marcus arrives. And I just love, I know what you've done, Celine. And, well, yeah, there's no denying it at that point. And so she's like, Victor deserved his fate, and Craven was no better. And I absolutely love what he says. Craven has already reaped the rewards of his own misdeeds. And Victor deserved his fate many times over. But then he starts telling her something that kind of takes her by surprise, because you could tell by the look on her face she doesn't completely understand why this topic is coming up. He says, a terrible business, the slaying of your family. Yet so much effort was spent to conceal this matter from me. What do you suppose Victor had to hide? Or perhaps it's you, Celine, as the last of your wretched family, that has something to hide. Apparently, he has a very big grudge against Celine's family, which is not explained yet. So he's about to feed on her when Michael saves him, or saves her. Do you think a crossover between Underworld and Solomon Kane, a fictional character from Pulp, or created by Robert E. Howard, would work? I would have to see Solomon Kane first. I cannot make any opinion on that. Neozoic. And so then we get the Marcus chase, which is or they run through the woods a little bit, and they get into a truck, and Michael has turned into his full hybrid. Now, the makeup for Michael as a hybrid in the first movie, his facial features mostly stayed human. In this movie, they give him a sort of pronounced muzzle, not a lichen muzzle, but one that is very suggestive that he is part werewolf, part vampire. And again, there are inconsistencies which are objective faults, but however, I still do enjoy the film. Now, Marcus versus Michael. It's a pretty good matchup. However, Marcus is still far superior. Marcus gets a hold or grabs the pendant from Michael and just tosses him off the truck, but luckily he manages to grab some of the chains that are hanging off the truck to keep there. So then he's flying around to the side of the truck to try to get to Celine, who's driving. And he says, "Dead or alive, you will give me what I want." But she keeps on shooting him with an automatic pistol, fully automatic pistol, meaning machine pistol, and doesn't work. Well, he gets to the other side, that's on the side of the truck towards a rock face, and she plows him into the side. Now the whole scene is great because there's a crane that has that actually has Marcus, Tony Curran's character, suspended to make it look like he's flying and whatnot, and they just add the digital wings flapping, which is pretty cool. And then they also digitally erase the crane truck that's operating Marcus. And that all is very good because it shows that, well, that stuff isn't there, you know? But the practical effects, the fact that they actually focused on practical effects in this movie for the most part, except for when they couldn't, tells that they actually wanted to do this very well and make sure that people believed what they were seeing. They took a lot of effort into the set design and into the action design for these movies. And when he gets squished up against the rock face and then left behind, you see him stand up and he's all bloodied and he's stretching out his wings, which were kind of crushed up a little bit. And the CGI wings that were bloodied up as well really do match the physical appearance of Marcus in the makeup as the bat hybrid, because his facial features does kind of resemble a human and a bat, with the ears kind of up the side a little bit, but not outward. So now they got away from Marcus, but there's another problem. The sun is coming up, like that moment. And Michael or Celine is driving, and you see her leather and her latex gloves rip or peel away, and she starts burning in the sun. So Michael has to put her down or get over her and tells him, "Get your foot on the gas, but stay down." Well, then Michael crashes into a like an auto body shop or something, and ends up covering the windows with paint using his claws to rip open the cans. And I'm like, okay, I understand ripping open the cans. You could just rip the lid off afterward, but why not use like a paint roller or something? I'm pretty sure there was one in there. But hey, you know, he's doing it because he cares. So she's burnt by the sun a little bit, and she gets into a cargo container, and he goes and rips a first aid kit off the wall from a bathroom, and she tells him there really is no need. So when he gets back, she's already all healed. And then we get the sex scene between them and the moment of digital willy removal, as the director and his crew call it, because they had to erase Scott Speedman's willy from the scene. So it's like, yeah, that's a topic. Now, the reason why I do bring up the sex scene, I would usually gloss over it, is because there is a scene that takes place a couple of shots after it, which was meant to take place immediately right after showing Celine having the orgasm with her eyes going blue and whatnot. It was supposed to cut to the cave where Marcus is staying, and there is a water reservoir dripping off of a wooden conveyor area. So it would have been seriously so freaking on the nose. You know, every adult would have lost her shit from that, you know. every adult would have lost their shit. Hey, old Demogeny, how you doing? We're talking Underworld evolution, and we just got done I just got done talking about the good cutting decisions of Len Wiseman when it came to after the science scene, as you would call it, Demogeny, where it goes into Marcus putting out his wings and sleeping away the day. But outside there was the running water gag, and it's like, that would have just been way too on the nose. So instead, folks, they cut to Corvinus just looking off and waiting for new reports. And while the day is out, the human faction goes into the safe house, finds the dead Lycan that was in there because the police or the police officers found that safe house and also found the Lycan. Well, the cleaners got in there, secured the specimen, pulled out, blows the place with this nice little disc-shaped thing, man. You press the center button, you toss it, or a few seconds later, it starts spitting out gas, and then it puts off an electric charge to ignite it. That is a pretty cool yet simple kind of explosive, if you ask me, which I actually think is pretty interesting in my own opinion. But yeah, science is good, especially if it has to do with Kate. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, indeed, Demogeny. So then she wakes up after the place explodes, and she accidentally opens the pendant that belonged to Lucian. Well, she now has flashbacks from when she's a kid, and she sees that she has held that thing before, which is kind of freaking her out. She's like, but I know somebody who might know about this. Andreas Tanis has been exiled for 300 years for documenting what Victor believed was malicious lies. However, knowing him, it was probably telling the truth. So they're on their way there, and the humans are still looking for him. So they're airborne, going over mountains with the helicopter, and they get to the monastery. And I love how when Kate Beckinsale is saying it's more like a prison now. He's been there ever since Victor's order. We'll be the first people he's seen in centuries. Well, yeah, there's a gate up, and he's having a freaking three-way with Victoria's Secret model vampires. So, also, if you watch this movie, during this scene, when the scene was being shot, Pat Totopoulos, who was set director or one of the set director guys, is like, now nobody is looking at my set. As soon as the woman with the frickin' Victoria's Secret lingerie comes in, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't think they care about your set, dude. This is kind of showing three people having sex here, so I don't think they care. But anyway, so Selene arrives, starts shooting the gate shoots the lock off the gate, which alerts Tanis, and Tanis sends out some werewolves and traps her in some tunnels. You get a nice fight between Kate and a Lycan, and you also see Michael face off against the Lycan as well, which is he rips the lower jaw off this thing, and I'm like, well, I don't know if that would kill him, but that would definitely make it so he can't talk much anymore. He's getting the Darth Malik procedure of lower jaw removal. Also, Len Wiseman joked that guy was supposed to do the audio commentary, but because he lost his lower jaw, he couldn't. So, fun facts, folks. I've watched these movies for years since they came out, and I also got them on DVD. Physical media is always important, and you can watch them with the audio commentaries, which is always nice because you learn stuff from behind the scenes that isn't always in the behind the scenes featurettes. And so jokes between the director and crew is always fun to hear, like how that Lycan was supposed to give the or do part of the commentary, but he lost his jaw. So now Kate then goes in, quickly dispatches the underwear models, and Tanis tries shooting at her and misses. And I just love Kate Beckinsale's digs at Tanis. See, your aim hasn't improved. So Michael comes in, scares the hell out of Tanis, and they're like, we need to talk. Well, we then learn that Tanis is in bed with Lucian, who was providing with the UV rounds. And Tanis is also an interesting vampire because other vampires have blue eyes in their vampire state. Tanis has kind of like yellowish eyes in his vampire state. So yeah, that's a thing. But anyway, I love the dialogue in this because Tanis explains it so easily. The guy that plays him, Steve McIntosh, is very great. I'm surprised there wasn't a crossover between Underworld and Blood Rain. I believe I did a versus stream of Blood Rain versus Selene Neozoic. I believe I actually did a versus stream way back in the day when those two those two as the combatants. I think I believe that Selene won due to her speed boosts and her Corvinus boost. But yeah, the dialogue between Tanis and Selene, and he's like, I've done what was necessary to survive. My decision was made easy when your precious Victor betrayed me. And she tells him that she killed Victor. And he's like, you kill Victor? I think not. And she then looks at him again. And he's like, oh, unless you've learned the truth. So your eyes are finally open. So he now knows that he can actually talk to her without holding shit back because he knows he won't be automatically dismissed. And he tells her, isn't it interesting how the truth can be harder to absorb than light? And I tried to stop him before. Travesty, committing such a terrible crime. Well, then turning you, that was too much to take. And my protests are why he put me here. And for context, folks, the winter of Lucian's escape was when her family was killed. So the events of Underworld 3, Rise of the Lycans, at the end of that scene, or at the end of that movie, is when Victor decided to go on his way. He was on his way to kill Selene's family because her father knew too much, which is explained in the scene. And they hand him over to Pendant, and he explains I love the opening line to when he explains some history is based on truth and others on deception. Victor was not the first of our kind, like you were led to believe. He was once human, the ruler of these lands. And he explains that Marcus is the first true vampire, and that he turned Victor and his army in order to help him stop the very first werewolves, which were created by William, his twin brother. But these weren't the Lycans we know. Disgusting though your brethren may be, they at least are evolved. And he says that to Michael, and I just love Michael's raised eyebrows. He's like, really? And so he says, no, these were raging monsters, never able to take human form ever again. It was only later generations that learned to channel their rage. The dialogue, folks, in this movie is top-end dialogue. The writers of these movies, who were the freaking writers of Underworld Evolution? Let me see here. Who wrote Underworld Evolution? Len Wiseman, Danny McBride, and Kevin Grevioux. Well, Kevin Grevioux, I believe, is a comic book writer, or Len Wiseman. These guys know what they wanted said, and they did a great job hiring the right actors to deliver these lines in the way that is top-end acting. Now, yes, the movie might suck because of other problems, but the frickin' dialogue and the direction is very well done. So he tells him, it's like, these were raging monsters, never to take human form ever again. And channel their rage. So, or she then asks, well, then why not just kill them all? Or why not kill William then? Why let him live? For the very same reason Victor never conspired against Marcus. Fear. Victor was warned that should Marcus die, everyone in his bloodline would follow him to the grave. So in Victor's mind, William's death would mean the death of all Lycans, Victor's slaves. It was a clever deception. However, Victor was never willing to put it to the test. He couldn't make that gamble. That was the perfect bluff for Marcus. Not only did it keep Marcus alive, but it kept him also as one of the elders in power. Because if Victor learned that he could kill him at any time, he would have. Victor would have slaughtered Marcus in his sleep in order to make sure that Marcus never is a threat again. But he didn't. So Tanis is showing them pages of mortals, men loyal to Alexander Corvinus, the father of us all, he refers to him as. And then they show a picture of William's prison, which she had a flashback of. So she asks, what is this? You should know. It's William's prison, the prison that your father was commissioned to build. And her reactions in this scene is why I think that Kate Beckinsale is a good actress in the right roles, because she's looking both pained and surprised and shocked, or all three of those at the same time. But she's doing it in such an emotional way that she's also trying to hold it in. But Michael asks her, he's like, what is it? What's wrong? Tanis answers, she now understands why her family was killed. But she says that was many years later. The winter of Lucian's escape. Your father knew too much, or too much for William or for Victor to risk, especially when Lucian had the key to William's cell, which is the pendant. And she says, and I'm the map. Exactly. The only one living who has seen its location. And Victor realized that, oh, geez, who is this? Oh, hold on, folks. This is an important call. Just please be patient. I'm back, folks. I am so sorry about that. That was from the doctor, and they had to let me know what to do and whatnot when I get there. So now I'm back. We were talking about um, Tanis explaining the history and whatnot. So I believe we already covered they need to. Selene is the map. That's right. Selene is the map. Sorry about that. Now, Victor realizes that she would never be able to remember explicitly, but Marcus knows that the memory and therefore exact location of William's prison is hidden away in her blood. And he then gives them directions to a person who might be able to stop him or stop Marcus, Lorenz Macarot. And so they start heading there. And while Tanis is getting rid of his concubines that Selena dispatched, or Selene killed off, he hears something crashing upstairs and footprints. And well, he knows that somebody is there. And I love how he puts or closes a door, puts down a wooden thing or a wooden barricade, and Marcus just pops right through like it's nothing. I mean, that got a good laugh at me at the theater. I'm like, oh my God, that's freaking nuts. So we then the dialogue between Tanis and Marcus, man, he's like, Tanis, you seem anxious. Why do you flee the very sight of me? I love the dialogue because it's a mix of both old way of speaking and a new way of speaking, or our modern way of speaking. Why do you flee the very sight of me? That is a very old kind of way of speaking. And then he's like, please sit. There's no need to be unpleasant. I've rather enjoyed your company. Now you're being rude, because Tanis still hasn't sat, and he looks over at the UV rounds, which Marcus notices. And it's like, sorry. Victor struck 2 keys, meaning Victor made or had 2 keys made. What do you know of them? Keys? I don't know of any keys. Well, out popped the talon wing thingies, and these were practical effects that they used to go into Tanis, not into his skin, mind you, but connect to him, and they use ropes to pull Tanis forward in order to show that Marcus is pulling him toward him. And he's like, oh, right, those keys. Well, one was directly in plain sight, draped around his daughter's neck, right there for you to see. And the other kept on Victor at all times. Where? Within him, beneath the flesh. So you know that thing from earlier in the movie that looked like an ashtray that Corvinus was pulling out of Victor, that was the other key. So now that he has that information, he decides to feed on Tanis, and now he knows that Tanis has talked with Selene, and he also now knows that they're going to see, well, his father, because Tanis also, or you also see that Tanis is also talking with Lucian when they were making deals together and whatnot, and that Tanis was getting naughty with the models. And he then leaves Tanis's body on the table and takes off. So we then get to the scene where Corvinus is revealed, or he reveals himself to Selene and them, and she's like, "You're familiar with this, then?" Intimately, and she recognizes the crest from the books that Tanis showed her. You're Alexander Corvinus, Sir Derek Jacobi, folks. This dude, or when Len Wiseman says he kind of gives off that Obi-Wan kind of vibe, he's not kidding. Sir Derek Jacobi is a theater-trained actor. He does such a great job. Sir Derek Jacobi is that good of an actor. And when he delivers his lines, you just hang on to every word he's saying. No joke. There was a time when I was known by that name. By any name, I am still your forefather, talking to Michael and giving him the pendant because he actually shows them that he's intimately familiar with it by opening it in front of them. And so she's like, how have you stayed hidden all these years? And he explains, for centuries, I've watched my two sons, or the havoc that my two sons wrought on each other and on humanity. Not the legacy I prayed for the day I watched them both into this world, and a tiresome duty, keeping the war contained, cleaning up the mess, hiding my family's unfortunate history. Well, then, Michael actually asks the most pertinent question of all. Couldn't you have stopped it? And I love Corvinus's look. He's like, what the? Could you kill your own sons? And so Celine tries. She's like, you know what Marcus will do. If she finds me, or if he finds me, he finds William's prison. You need to help us stop him. You're asking me to help you kill my son. You, a death dealer. How many innocents were killed in the 6th century quest to avenge your family? This tells you that he knows exactly who she is. She basically made a name of herself in Corvinus's eyes. As he's focused on the entirety of the war, she actually warranted his attention because she's killed off a lot of Lycans. And she's also, or she hadn't cared about people getting caught in the crossfire. So yes, it's pretty interesting that he actually knows exactly who she is, you know? So then he's like, spare me your self-righteous declarations. You are no better than Marcus, and even less noble than William. At least he can't control his savagery. Well, she throws it right back at him. Anything I've done can be laid at your feet. Hundreds of thousands of people have died because of your inability to acknowledge that your sons are monsters, that they create monsters. You could have stopped all of this. And he tells her, do not come groveling to me simply because you're weaker than your adversary. He also has that older way of speaking, using older words, not words like enemy, but adversary. And she tells him, you know the devastation William caused before he was captured. He can't be set free. Well, we then see Marcus has arrived, swooping down, knocking one dude off the boat and tackling into another guy. Well, he then sends another guard crashing through the ceiling of the room they're in and pulls Michael out through another window to the side of the boat. And Michael starts fighting with Marcus. Marcus hits him twice and grabs it, he grabs him another time. Oh, what is your ranking of the Underworld films? First one, Evolution, Rise of Lycans, Awakening, Blood Wars. There's an animated one. I have not seen the animated one. Endless War. I haven't seen that. So I can rank the other 5 though. Underworld, in my opinion, is the best. Underworld 3, Rise of the Lycans. Underworld 2, Underworld Awakening, and then Underworld Blood Wars, in that order. So basically 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. So getting back to it, he sees that Michael's about to transform. So then he grabs Michael, throws him up, and impales him on a broken post. And Michael's basically finished because that went straight through his spine and also probably almost obliterated his heart. And in true sadistic fashion, freaking Marcus just starts rubbing the wound to to cause even more pain, you know? And then he pulls the pendant back off of Michael. And when Celine goes to intervene, grabbing the gun from the fallen guard, I love how Corvinus tries stopping her, and he's like, "No, wait, you're no match for him." And well, she doesn't care. Her lover just got pulled out of there, so she's going to see. And one of the cool things about this film is that they do multiple shots of her eyes going from her normal brown to the vampire blue. And they do that so well, you know? They actually do that very well. Hey, Kamen Rider, good to see you. So, she then starts unloading on Marcus as soon as she sees that Michael is down. And, well, that doesn't really help because he just dives into the water and then comes up spearing her, opening up a couple wounds on her, and then drinking her blood, learning the location of the prison. He got what he wanted. Well, now there's just one final bit to go. He drops her into the drink and goes after his father. Who is your favorite fictional? What the fuck kind of question is that, Kamen Rider? Fictional rabbit or bunny? Out of all the different ones that I know, I'll freaking say Roger Rabbit. There. Yeah. But yes, the scene of Sir Derek Jacobi, where he is basically just unloading, or where he's listening in on the slaughter that is outside of his room, is so great because he's like, or all right, he's at the gates. So he gathers his bearing. Well, it says on the thumbnails, yes, Kamen Rider, but these are resurrection themed, the more religious resurrection, so to speak. Not Christ resurrection, but characters are being resurrected in all of these Easter themed or April things. Dabian Donaldson, hello there. Hope you're doing okay. Hey, thank you, Dabian. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. And so he stands there waiting for his son to enter the room. And when he does, he's like, "Hello, Father. You are unwelcome in my presence." Ah, the predictable heart that never thaws. Folks, this has such great dialogue between Tony Curran, who was another, I believe, theater actor at first, and then he got into the movies, and Sir Derek Jacobi. These two have such nobility when they're speaking to each other, even though they're speaking to each other with such hate in their voice or in their words. And he tells them, the predictable heart that never thaws, pity it beats in such a fool. The eldest of the immortals, yet you have made no attempt to seize your destiny. And he tells him, we are oddities of nature, you and I, nothing more. This is a world for humanity. And that petty sentiment explains why you rejected your son, or your sons, while William suffered for over half a millennia, or suffered alone for over half a millennia in darkness. No, Father, I have no respect for your petty sentiment. He's there for a reason. Victor's key, where is it? And he does, whatever plan you have for William is futile. You cannot control your brother. Well, I am stronger now. And our bond is greater than you have ever wanted to acknowledge. And then we get Marcus's goal, his end game, so to speak. And he's like, you're wrong. Soon you'll be drowning in lichens just like before. Oh, not lichens, Father, or vampires. A new race created in the image of their maker, their new god. Me. And it's like, he actually had to say that in order for his father to understand that, you know? I love Underworld 1 to 4, but definitely not 5. I thought that sucked. Yeah, the 5th one is by far the weakest one. The 4th one was interesting, but I also thought it was kind of weak in itself. It wasn't done by Wiseman. The trilogy is definitely where it's at, Davian. So we then get to or he pulls out his wing and stabs his father against the wall, and he tells him, and a true God has no father. He then pulls his father's sword and then stabs him through the chest, and then rifles through his father's jacket, finding Victor's key. Well, his father then tells him, you will fail, as the humans are coming back from their time out looking for Celine and Michael, but they arrive too late and they see Corvinus on the ground bleeding. And he's like, the time has come, my friend. Find the girl and bring her to me. Well, they go to find Celine. She pulls a gun on him because she's distraught. She tried to revive Michael without success, using blood and whatnot. So she's distraught because she just lost her lover. Hence the hint to this movie, a lover revived. And so she tells him, don't leave him here. So she goes to see Corvinus. Did he get the pendant? Yes. He's too powerful for you alone. You're the only one stronger than he is. You are the only one strong or older than he is. The only one stronger. You could have killed him yourself. And I understand Corvinus's words here. No matter what he has become, he is still my son. Can you really commit filicide? Or this is something that is outside of the processing of Corvinus. He can't kill his own kids. As much as they are monsters, he can't kill them. That is a very old way of thinking. It is an ultimate sin. You cannot kill those you have born into the world. And he then cuts open his wrist and offers it to Celine. And she asks him, what will I become? And he simply tells her, the future. Well, that's a clever way of saying, I have no fucking clue. But anyway, when she starts drinking his blood, you see her eyes start to go from vampiric blue to a more icy cold blue, which is very interesting, or which is very cool, to basically letting you know she now just received an extremely powerful upgrade. She is going to be a lot more stronger. She's going to be a lot more faster. This is a Celine you don't want to mess with. So after they all load up and go, and they take Michael's body with them, Corvinus does, well, all that he can, really. And that is, he blows up the ship with him on it using one of those cool little explosive devices, and one that is also with a bunch of other ones close by, so it's going to cause a chain reaction. Now, he then, then they cut to Marcus arriving at the prison, and he opens up his brother's prison. And he says, William. We then cut to the team outside arriving behind him, and they're all starting to head in when William wakes up with his brother in front of him. William wakes up just outright roaring and whatnot. Brian Steele plays William so well. The man in the suit, plus they also did a digital double for him because they kind of had to with a couple of scenes. Excuse me, had to take a drink of water. And he starts charging at Marcus, and Marcus has to hold his brother back. He's like, no, William, stop. Be still, brother. It's me. I would no longer harm you more, or I would harm you no more than myself. I recently liked your review for Universal Soldier Regeneration, and definitely with you on that it's a great sequel, but I didn't like Day of Reckoning. Day of Reckoning is basically a complete unrated version of the Universal movies. I get what they were trying to do with it. it is indeed poorer, though. I liked Regeneration, though, very much, and I just recently got Universal Soldier on digital, so I'll be doing a review for that next week. Unfortunately, guys, I have to head out. All right, take it easy, Neozoic. Take good care, Orange, and everybody in the chat. Good day, good luck, peace out, and stay safe on. Yep, you too, buddy. So, also, Dabian, about Universal Soldier 3 and 4, those are actually known as 2 and 3 because Universal Soldier: The Return was decanonized when those movies were made. So Universal Soldier Regeneration, Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning are an actual complete trilogy. Fun fact. So then they get it, so our heroes then get in, and they find out that they're too late, and William starts making making a mess behind themselves, killing off a bunch of their guards. And then Marcus steps up against Selene and realizes she's a little bit stronger than she was before. He doesn't understand why, of course, because he doesn't know that her father or his father gave her a boost with blood, or with Corvinus blood. So yeah. So he ends up getting trapped behind the wall that led up to William's prison. And she went out to go searching for William. Well, William has slaughtered all but 2 freaking guys. And the rest are all either scratched or bitten. So you know what's going to come there. We all do, but they don't yet, because they all think that the other people are dead. So then Sam, the head of the human faction, is like, we only have UV rounds. They won't take him down. And she's like, no, but they will slow him down. And then you get the nice little score while they're looking for him. She ends up saving one of them because he steps on a rotten piece of wood on a on a drawbridge, and Sam ends up getting bitten by William and shooting the other guy by accident. So she ends up unloading on William, and William starts roaring at her, and then takes a swipe at her, and she backflips out. And I love how she reloads her weapons. She drops the clips, she goes in back, comes forward, claps the butt of the guns together to get the clips in, or to reload. So that's a cool and clever way of doing it. And then she continues to just shoot up on William until she runs out of bullets. And then William's just taking it, man. He's like, you're not hurting me, bitch. You're not hurting me at all. This doesn't hurt. So she tries using 2 throwing bombs throwing stars like she had in the first movie, but these ones are explosive charged that she got from Tanis. And they literally blow the top off the castle. And the helicopter outside, the pilot's like, Jesus Christ. Now, during this time, or they cut to back into the chopper, where Michael, his body on the inside starts to reconstitute, the same effects that they used for Victor's awakening in the first movie. I kindly disagree with you on Universal Soldier 2: The Return. I personally think it's a lot of fun. Oh, it's very much fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a good sequel, but it's a separate universe from the other 3. I respect your cool opinion why you don't like it. It's not that I don't like it. I thought that it was pretty good myself, but they decanonized it. That's all I was saying. They decanonized it. And they put by making the other 2. Dabney. Or Dabian, sorry. Yeah, Dabian Donaldson, your name kind of sounds like Dabney Donovan from DC Comics, so I might accidentally call you Dabney every now and then. Just saying, buddy. Sorry. But, so continuing on, Michael is now somehow reconstituted and reawakened and revived. So after William runs out of there because of the bombs, she's now take cover herself, But now the guys that William had clawed up and killed are now starting to turn into lichens themselves. The ones that don't turn back into human form. So the helicopter's now hovering above the hole, and they see that oh God, I gotta sneeze. Hold on, folks. Thank God I muted that. I would have blown your eardrums out of you or out of your ears. Whew. Excuse me, folks. Sorry about that. But anyway, they're like, I can't, or the helicopter pilot's like, what are you waiting for? Shoot him. I can't, not without taking her out. He has a wide range machine gun, folks. That gun, if you fire a single shot, you're more likely to get a good accurate shot. However, if you do a full auto spread of that gun, it's gonna cover at the distance that he's shooting at. You're covering about a 10 to 15-foot radius of damage area, and he's got a pretty high-powered machine gun or it's not like a 50 cal or anything, but it's I believe it's a belt-fed M60 or thereabouts. Or it could have been the one that Rocky used in Rocky 2, or not Rocky, but Rambo used in First Blood Part 2 when he shot up the CIA nest. But anyway, well, that's when Michael revives. Damn it. Yeah. Surname is Scottish, no worries. Wow, dude, French Scottish, or you're a Scotch Frenchman. You're a living contradiction. I'm joking, buddy. But hey, thanks for stopping in, or thanks for joining. I don't think I've seen you around on my channel before, so welcome to it. So now Michael jumps down because he's awake and he's in his full original look, not with the muzzle. And I mean, that's the biggest problem in this movie is Michael's makeup. They couldn't freaking figure out which makeup they wanted to use. When he wakes up, he's in his perfect human featured hybrid look from the first movie. Then when he's going down and fighting against William, he has the muzzle. And it's like, make up your friggin' minds, people, you know? Well, at this point, Marcus has also gotten out from under that door because it was stopped by fallen debris, so he was able to escape. And he sees that after Michael backs off from William, Celine has a weapon and she's unloading as well as the chopper. So Marcus pulls down the chopper because there's still a repelling cord for some dumbass reason. They didn't cut the line. But yeah, he pulls the chopper down, which causes it to still have the propeller going, but it's also busted up. She's on the drawbridge above near the propeller, and William and Michael continue going at it while we get the final battle between Celine and Marcus. And they're hitting each other, pounding on each other, and then Michael gets the upper hand on William and yanks off the top of his head, which pisses off Marcus to throw his talon straight through Celine's chest. And I love his last words. He's like, I knew Victor made a mistake as keeping you as a pet. He should have killed you with the rest of your family. You just gotta keep making those digs, don't you, Marcus? So she rips his talon off, or she breaks off his talon, pulls it out of her chest, and shoves it right up under his chin. Great freaking coup de grace, first step coup de grace there. She then pulls it out and knocks him into the propeller, Mortal Kombat fatality style. It's like, oh shit. Now, folks, because of that there, his getting diced up by the propeller, they were risking an NC-17 because of all the bloodletting in this movie. They were risking an NC-17, so they had to do it in a way that was quick, easy, and not too bloody. So it was about a second or two, and that's it. That was the end of Marcus. So then we see Scott coming out in his human form, and he sees that Celine sticking her hand out in daylight. Thank you. And thank you for subscribing, buddy. Make sure you turn on notifications for when I get videos out. Oh, before you go, I won't be doing content from Thursday onward to Saturday because I will be recovering from a medical procedure. But thank you for stopping in and check out my previous content. Till then. So we then see her sticking her hand in the sunlight. Now, there was speculation for Len Wiseman asking or speculation on whether he should put in the line from her and Corvinus, what will I become? And him answering the future as it reveals that her hand is in sunlight. And then she steps into the sunlight as well, revealing that the sun no longer holds power or holds death over her because of her gift from Corvinus, or the gift from Corvinus. So now she does a final narration and then run credits, or while her and Michael are making out in a castle. I don't know how the hell they got out of there. They must have swam and hiked a bunch. Just, they were up in the mountains, man. I don't know how the heck they got out of there. But yeah. So, scoring the films, folks. Scoring the films, or this film. Objectively speaking, this is without bias. This is looking at the movie through a critical lens without using my love of this film. This movie is about a 6.5 out of 10. It passes by the skin of its teeth. It's got good story. It's got good practical effects. It's got good direction. It's got good dialogue. It's got good score. The main problem with this movie, CGI, not that good. Creature practical effects, inconsistencies throughout the film. Michael's hybrid makeup is inconsistent throughout this film. You got his Underworld 1 makeup, you got the Underworld 2 makeup, mix matched all the way throughout this film. And it is very inconsistent. You have a couple of scenes that I feel would have actually been better if they had cut. Actually, I do believe that the sex scene would have been fine, just cut. Have them make out and cut away from it from there. You don't need the sex scene. Honestly, I think that is one scene that didn't really need to be in the final thing. Hope it goes well. Thank you, Davian. But yes, other than that, the film was great. Subjective, this movie is a 9 out of 10. I can forgive the inconsistencies and such, but they are still there, which does knock it down a point. Moviegoer, if you like the Underworld movies, this movie is about a 10 out of 10. Where if you don't, this movie can drag on a little bit, even though it's not even 2 hours long. But there are points in it where you're like, okay, can we get to the main bits, you know? So, moviegoers' full score without a bias is a 9 out of 10. Anyway, that is going to be the review. Hint for next week's Easter Resurrection review, a Titan Resurrected. If you know it, don't spoil it. And I will drop more hints on Sunday, or starting Sunday, because I will be completely unable to do so from Thursday and Friday. Saturday, I'm also going to be resting. So, yeah, Sunday, I will I'll drop a couple of hints on Twitter. So make sure you're subscribed to my Twitter, VolanOHR. So, yeah, thank you so much to Dabian, Neozoic, the Majinai, Cayman Rider, And Price is Right, Ruben Thomas, Christian Freights. Thank you all so much for coming in. And Vanya as well. Thank you so much for coming in. Y'all have a wonderful day. And make sure to catch this on the replay, smash the like and all that. This has been Orange Chat Reviews. Have a wonderful day and stay humble.